All right, let's dive into this MSIX thing. Seems like everyone's talking about it these days. We got this article, right, from Kevin Kaminski over at CheckYourLogs.net. The Evolving Windows Application Deployment Landscape, Embracing the MSIX Era. Catch you, right? Published just the other day, February 4th, 2025. And, it got us thinking about how much Windows app deployment has changed. I mean, remember the bad old days? Clunky installers, DLL hell, the whole 9 yards.
Oh, tell me about it. Back in the day, deploying a new application felt like playing Russian roulette with your system stability. One wrong move and bam, you're stuck troubleshooting cryptic error messages for hours.
Yeah, Kaminski really paints a vivid picture of those Wild West days, as he calls them, dealing with MSI and EXE installers, wrestling with click-ons, even trying to make sense of AppV. He actually calls AppV app and file redirection with COM isolation. I mean, what were they thinking?
Well, I think click-ons was a decent attempt to simplify things, at least for .NET apps. And AppV, I guess it had its place, especially for virtual desktops. But let's be honest, neither one really solved the fundamental problems of complexity and compatibility.
It's like trying to fix a broken engine with a Band-Aid. And then there was the whole push for Universal Windows Platform, UWP apps. The idea was great, secure, sandboxed environment, the whole shebang. But in practice, it just wasn't practical for a lot of legacy and enterprise applications.
Yeah, you can't just force every application into that mold. It's like trying to fit a square peg into a round hole. It just doesn't work.
So we ended up with this hodgepodge of different approaches, each with its own limitations. And then along comes MSIX, promising to be the knight in shining armor, the ultimate solution. I have to admit, I'm intrigued, but I'm also a bit skeptical. Can one technology really solve all the headaches of Windows application deployment?
It's the question everyone's asking. But to get to the answer, we need to dig a bit deeper into what MSIX actually is and how it works.
Okay, let's do it. What makes MSIX so different? What's the secret sauce?
Well, one of the key things about MSIX is that it uses containerization. Think of it like this. Each application gets its own little sandbox to play in. This isolation prevents apps from messing with each other or the operating system, which dramatically reduces conflicts and instability.
So no more DLL hell, where one application overwrites a shared file and brings the whole system crashing down.
Exactly. And because MSIX packages are self-contained, installations and updates are much smoother and more reliable. No more hunting for missing dependencies or trying to decipher cryptic error messages.
That sounds almost too good to be true, but what about security? With all the cyber threats out there, can MSIX really keep our systems safe?
Security is a top priority with MSIX. In addition to that containerization we were talking about, it also uses digital signatures to verify an app's authenticity. It's like each app package comes with its own security detail, checking its ID at the door and making sure it's safe to enter your system.
So it's like having a bouncer for your computer, making sure only the good guys get in. So if I'm understanding this right, MSIX combines containerization and strict package verification to create a more secure and reliable environment for applications.
You got it. It's a huge step forward in application security, and it's one of the main reasons why organizations are starting to pay attention.
Kaminski mentions that MSIX adoption is on the rise, with everyone from enterprise IT to software vendors getting on board. It's even being compared to the shift from Windows XP to Windows 7, a major transition that ultimately brought a lot of benefits.
And just like that transition, it takes time for everyone to adapt. But the early signs are very encouraging.
But before we get too carried away and start singing MSIX's praises, we should probably talk about the challenges. Kaminski has a whole section in his article titled, Not a Magic Bullet. What are some of the potential downsides we need to be aware of?
Well, it's important to remember that MSIX isn't a silver bullet. While it's designed to be compatible with a wide range of apps, there might be some legacy applications that need a little extra help to run smoothly.
Ah, so there's still some work involved. It's not just a matter of flipping a switch and everything works perfectly.
Exactly. Especially for companies with a lot of complex applications, migrating to MSIX requires a carefully planned approach. But hey, that's a topic for the next part of our deep dive.
Okay, so we've established that MSIX isn't just a plug-and-play solution, especially for those dealing with a whole bunch of legacy apps, right? Kaminski talks about this too. He says you really got to think strategically about adopting MSIX.
Right, you can't just jump in headfirst without a plan. The first step is to take a good look at all your applications and see if there are any potential compatibility issues.
So like doing an inventory, basically, figuring out which apps might need some extra attention.
Exactly. Some of those older applications, especially the ones that are really tightly integrated with the operating system, might need some tweaks to run smoothly in an MSIX container.
I see. So it's not just a simple lift and shift. There's some detective work involved.
There is, but luckily there are tools to help with that. Microsoft has this thing called the MSIX packaging tool. It can help convert existing installers to the MSIX format.
Handy, so you don't have to start from scratch.
Yep. And there's a whole community of folks out there who've been working with MSIX for a while. You can find forums and online resources where people share their experiences and tips for dealing with compatibility issues.
So it's like a team effort, everyone working together to smooth out the transition.
Yeah, it's really about collaboration. And that goes beyond just the technical side of things. Kaminski emphasizes the importance of getting everyone on board, from developers to IT admins to end users.
Makes sense. After all, it's the end users who are going to benefit from a smoother, more reliable app experience. But how do you get everyone excited about a new technology, especially one that might seem a bit technical at first glance?
Communication is key. You gotta make sure everyone understands the benefits of MSIX. Talk about how it simplifies installation, improves security, makes updates easier, and reduces those pesky compatibility problems.
Paint a picture of how it's going to make their lives easier, basically.
Exactly. And don't forget about training. Make sure your IT staff knows how to manage and deploy MSIX packages, and that developers are up to speed on creating and packaging apps in the MSIX format.
Right. Invest in some good training to get everyone up to speed. I remember Kaminski also stressed the importance of testing.
Oh, absolutely. Testing is crucial. Before you roll out MSIX to your whole organization, you need to do pilot deployments. Test it in a controlled environment so you can iron out any kinks and make sure everything runs smoothly.
So it's like a dress rehearsal before the big show.
Exactly. You want to make sure everything is perfect before you go live.
Okay, so we've talked about preparing for MSIX. What about the actual deployment? Any tips for that?
Well, one thing to consider is choosing the right deployment method. MSIX gives you a lot of flexibility. You can use Microsoft Endpoint Manager, which used to be called Intune, or the Microsoft Store for Business, or even good old-fashioned file shares.
So there's no one-size-fits-all approach. The best method depends on the organization's needs.
Right. If you have a modern management infrastructure, using a cloud-based solution like Intune can make things a lot easier.
I can imagine IT admins would love that. No more running around to every machine to install updates.
It's a huge time saver. But even if you're still using an on-premises infrastructure, deploying MSIX packages can be simpler than traditional methods.
Kaminski also talked about the importance of monitoring and troubleshooting, right?
Yeah, that's a good point. Even with the best planning, things can still go wrong. You need to have good monitoring tools in place to keep an eye on things and catch any problems early on.
So it's not a set it and forget it kind of thing.
Nope. You still need to be vigilant and make sure everything is running smoothly.
Okay, we've covered a lot of technical ground here, but what about the human side of things? People don't always like change, especially when it comes to technology.
The good old resistance to change. It's a real thing, and it's important to address it.
So how do you overcome that? How do you get people on board with the idea of MSIX?
Again, communication is key. You need to be transparent with people, explain the benefits clearly, and address any concerns they might have.
Make them feel like they're part of the process, not just subjects of some big tech rollout.
Exactly. And celebrate the successes. Highlight the positive feedback you're getting from early adopters. Create a culture where people are excited about learning new things and trying new technologies.
So it's about more than just the technology itself. It's about creating a positive environment where people feel comfortable embracing change.
Absolutely. That's how you ensure a smooth and successful transition to MSIX.
Welcome back for the final part of our MSIX deep dive. We've covered a lot of ground, from the technical nitty-gritty to the human side of things. But now I kind of want to step back and look at the bigger picture. What does MSIX really mean for the future of software?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think MSIX represents a pretty significant shift, not just in how we deploy apps, but in how we think about software in general.
I was thinking about that too while reading Kaminski's article. He kind of hints at this idea that MSIX could be a catalyst for some really big changes in the whole Windows ecosystem.
Right. It's not just about packaging and deployment anymore. It's about reimagining how software interacts with the operating system.
So what are some of the ways this might play out? How could MSIX change the way software is developed and how we use it?
Well, one of the most exciting possibilities is the rise of modular applications. Because of MSIX's containerization, developers can break down big, complex applications into smaller, independent components.
So instead of one massive program, you have a bunch of smaller pieces that work together.
Exactly. Each component can be developed, updated and deployed separately.
Makes sense. That would make things a lot more flexible, both for developers and for users.
Right, for developers, it means faster development cycles and more agile delivery. You can update individual components without having to redeploy the entire application, which reduces the risk of, breaking things.
And for users, it means you only download and install the parts you actually need. No more huge software packages clogging up your hard drive.
Exactly. And it opens up the possibility for more personalized software experiences. Users could customize their applications by choosing the specific modules they want.
I like that idea, kind of like building your own custom software package from a set of building blocks.
Exactly. And imagine a world where software updates are truly seamless. With modular applications, updates can be delivered to individual components in the background without any interruptions.
No more annoying update prompts or forced restarts. Sign me up.
Another area where MSIX could have a big impact is in cloud-based deployments. As more and more companies move to the cloud, the ability to easily manage applications across different devices and platforms becomes really important.
And MSIX fits right in with that trend, right? With its compatibility with things like Windows Virtual Desktop and Azure.
Absolutely. It's the perfect solution for organizations that want to streamline their cloud app strategy.
I can see that. It's like having your own personalized work environment that follows you wherever you go.
Exactly. And you don't have to sacrifice security for that convenience. MSIX's security model, with its containerization and package verification, carries over to the cloud as well.
So no matter where you are, what device you're using, you can be confident that your applications are safe and secure.
Right. So we've got increased flexibility for developers, a more personalized and seamless experience for users, and enhanced security across the board. It's clear that MSIX has the potential to really shake things up in the software world.
It's almost like we're at the beginning of a whole new era in computing, one where applications are more modular, more adaptable, and more tightly integrated with the cloud.
We've come a long way from those old school installers and the constant fear of DLL hell. MSIX offers a glimpse of a future where software is just, better.
More reliable, more secure, and more user-friendly. A future that I, for one, am excited to see unfold. Huge thanks to Kevin Kaminski for his insightful article that got us thinking about all of this. Be sure to check out the full article over at CheckYourLogs.net.
And to our listeners, we'll leave you with this final thought. As MSIX continues to evolve, what role will you play in shaping its future? How will you leverage this technology to enhance your work, your creativity, or maybe even just your daily life?
The possibilities are out there, and it's up to all of us to explore them. Thanks for joining us on this MSIX deep dive. Until next time, keep exploring, keep innovating, and keep pushing the boundaries of what's possible.